Hello and welcome back to the ministry. And this is Taj McCameron. And today we are talking about why sometimes the Lord's things don't always look like the world. There is this hyper belief system that when God blesses, it's like, God's going to bless you. God's going to do this. God's going to do that. God's going to. Have you noticed when God blesses a person, a lot of people will use that encouragement and use the scriptures and say everything that is awesome and right and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful and God's going to bless. But you have to understand, a lot of us, especially if we're visionaries, we have a tendency that we think big, we pray big, everything is big, big. And it's not to say God can't do that. God is a big God, for it says in Ephesians 3:20, I will do exceedingly abundantly greater than you could ask for or think. He can do it. It says in the word, prove me not that I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you shall not have room enough to receive. Meaning you're going to have to release this over your children's children. It says in hold on, I'm trying to make sure I say this right. Deuteronomy 28. In them earlier parts, like somewhere between 2 and 8, it talks about the blessing upon your barns, the blessing upon your assets, the blessings upon all of these things, your cattle and all of this, these blessings that are going to come upon them. And it's going to affect every generation to follow. Yes? Your baskets, your kneading barns, your bowls, all those types of things. And to every generation after you. Oh yes, He's going to bless. But a lot of children of God get caught up in that and forget about the fact that there's a process, one, to getting there, and there's steps in order for you to stay there. God can do it. God can do it overnight. You'll be here today and you'll be over there tomorrow. Where you are today is not going to be where you are tomorrow. That's true. One of the people I listen to, she always has a tendency to say, but would God give car keys to a toddler? Sometimes you wonder why your process is so daggone long. And you're like, why is this process so long? I literally had my mentor tell me, she told me this years ago, kind of blessed me, and I'm going to share it with you right now. In that season, I was in a dark place. I've been in that season for about 2 years at that point. And she said, God's breaking you gracefully. Meaning He's leveling you up gracefully. You may not be where you want to be, but He's doing it gradually, leveling you up. God showed you level 28. You're on 2. And you want to take the elevator up there so fast, so bad. And God's like, I need you to take the steps. And you're like, that's 28 flights of stairs. What you mean? What does the word say about the narrow path? People don't like to take the narrow path. I'm going to tell you right now why they don't like to take the narrow path. Because it takes longer. Wait, that path is clear. I can walk right through here. And God's like, I need you to take the path that looks like a jungle with vines, ropes, and here's a machete. I'm going to give you the machete. You're going to have to cut that entire path down so you can get through that way. And God, you're like, is easier. Why can't I just walk the straight route? And he's like, but I need you to cut down this path over here. Cut through that. But I don't want to cut through that. I want to just walk. It's easier to just walk right there. I can get there in 15 minutes. And God's like, I need you to take the hour and 20-minute route. But I don't want to walk for an hour and 20 minutes. I want to just, can I go to 15? And you wonder, why did you take me that way? But I had to. Cultivation. I need to cultivate you and prepare you to walk this route. Because if you walk the 15-minute route that got you there, you know how you hear people say, that person had 15 minutes of fame? That's about as long as you're going to have once you get where you're supposed to go if you do not walk through the process. Taking that machete and cutting down the vines on the path that you had to walk and you had to fight to get through, that cultivated you. That prepared you to be able to get through. Not only get through, but keep you once you got there. A lot of people want to just get there. I mean, just get there. And this is why you have celebrities. Let me just say celebrities because it's an easy thing to look at. Remember them celebrities that had one hit, one movie? That was the hottest TV show. That was the it thing. That was the thing. They had that one thing. It couldn't seem to have another hit, anything. After that. Oh yeah, I remember her. She was in that. Their most remembered role was that one thing. Oh, I remember that song. They never come out with another album after that, did they? They had that one real good. Ain't none of them come out of that afterwards, though. There's a saying that goes, I'm trying to say it right. It's on the tip of my tongue. That something that your character can't keep you. So basically saying, if you don't cultivate yourself before you get to that place, your character will be the one thing that will not be able to keep you once you got there. Okay? What does that particularly have to do with what I'm talking about? Everything. Because of the fact that some of us have had a vision in our head. I remember when I was going through the process in the early part of my Christian walk. And I remember telling God, let's walk, let's go there, let's do this. Just before I went to New York. And before he sent me to New York, I was like, okay, God, I knew he was going to send me. I knew it was going to be. I even looked up how the process, what I needed to do. God ain't never let me do any of the things that were the strategically scheduled route of which you should go when you're preparing to go to New York. You just say go. When I tell you go, go. When he said go, I went. When I got there, oh, that was an experience. And you're looking like, God, doesn't it say in your word, you're my protector, you're my provider, and you're my... Were you not covered when I put you in that place? Were you not? Did you not have all the food that you needed? Does it not say in my word that you will have all the food that you will eat? You will have that manna in that season. But remember, the children of Egypt was going to be like, we were eating lobster in Egypt. You got us in the wilderness eating mud cakes. What is this? He dropped manna from heaven on a daily basis, but it didn't last past one day. Jesus, what is this? And then you're working hard and you can't seem to get your work to come out, and then you murmur and complain. And you're still getting the visions from God that's saying, oh, you're going to be in mansions. And you're like, I'm in a Motel 6 with bugs. What you talking about, God? You're going to have a multi-million-dollar corporation. You got a corner store with a blinking light that you can barely afford to have the light bulb changed. And you're the one that's got to do all the construction work to refinish it and fix it up. And you're like, but God. And God's like, aren't you creative? Aren't you an artist? Aren't you this? Aren't you that? Can't you fix it yourself? And you're like, but why didn't you drop me the thing I have to fix? Jesus, what are we doing here? Let's look at our creatives that are artistically inclined. Maybe you're a musician, maybe you're a singer, maybe you're what have you. And for our Christian groups, we'll say gospel. You're seeing the gospel group, and you see the people on America's Got Talent singing gospel, and you see the people in the church with all the lights and all of this, that, and the other. And you're like, yes, Jesus, this is what we got to do. And Jesus says, I want you to go sing at the church on the corner that's in the window. And then with that, I want you to know that most of the people there are going to disrespect you due to the fact that they hate the fact that you are anointed that well to sing. And you're going to be fought the whole time that you're there. But you sold me stages, man. Where's the exceedingly abundant on this? Cultivating the character that can keep you when you get to the stage. Wait, what? I was sitting there thinking about this last night. There's a ministry I follow. They so sweet. They so nice. They on YouTube. The pastor's working in he shares his church with another church. And they have different sessions. So he'll take the night and they'll do in the morning. And when you see the group of them singing, you're kind of like, oh my God. When you think of a gospel group, you think of the people that have voices that they perfectly harmonize together and all of this. You listening to them and they're like, that's not perfectly harmonized. Y'all voices aren't all properly pitched together and all. You making it work. You making it work. Well, guess what? God's blessing that church. And all the people that congregate at that church. No, they ain't got all the lights in the ministry and everybody don't sing perfectly. I will move you from the back to the front. He never said that the person that's being moved to the front was going to be singing every note perfectly. He didn't say that I'm moving the people that can sing harmonies exactly together perfectly. Because guess what? Sometimes it's those people that can harmonize well together. They fighting behind the pulpit when ain't nobody watching. They operating in some of the worst sin in the church. Sleeping around with each other, doing all kinds of stuff. But this group over here, their harmonies aren't perfect. They working in a church that isn't even their own building. But guess what? Their anointing is going to bless people. Because the anointing's there. They ain't got all the lights and the sound and the stereo system and the this and the that. But guess what? God's anointed that. Which is bringing me to this point that he wanted me to come to. In this season, the moves that God's going to make, it's not going to be in the mega churches. You're starting to see revivals in places and spaces. It's a college campus. I don't know what the name of it is. They experienced a revival, and if you look at it, it looks like just a group of college teenagers singing and dancing on the stage in regular clothes, but they singing worship music. Ain't nobody out there professionally dressed in garments and gala type outfits. They ain't wearing the finest linens. They ain't got the best lighting. The superstar church ain't in there. But guess what? God's there. So some of you have been sitting there wondering, well, God, how come you ain't opened that door yet? God said, I'm open the door, but it may not look like what you thought it was going to look like. This is why you hear a lot of people tell you, you have to be willing to see the blessing for what it is and not be looking for what your mind thinks it should look like. Because the devil going to give you what you think it should look like. God's going to give you what it needs to be. And sometimes that's a fixer-upper where the raft is falling down from the ceiling. And you're like, God, this doesn't look like a blessing. And he's like, I'm going to give you the contractors to fix it. I'm going to give you everything which you need to do with it. I'm going to give that to you. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to give it to you in the rough, and you're going to fix it from that point. Because you put your hands to it, I'm going to bless it. My mentor puts her hands to everything that she puts her hands to. Everything. It's hard for her to release a lot of things. Now, it's not to say that God's not going to give you the people that are going to bless the thing that you're putting your hands to. In this right season, he will. And he will show you who you can relinquish those tasks to. But you have to know that you have to follow God in that. Because the devil is always waiting. Because if you go by your desire, sometimes what you might desire may be a trap. What looks good to you, for my ladies waiting on their God-ordained spouses. Sometimes God's going to give you something that is exactly what he wants you to have, but it's not what everybody would think that it is. Oh, God's blessing you. Oh, God's moving. Oh, God's doing this. Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God's God. And you're like, yes, God, you're about to give me the house. Your brain's thinking 6 bedrooms in the most beautiful neighborhood I said, I'm going to start you in this 2-bedroom house. It's nice. It can fit you. You grow into the other one. But does it not have all the amenities that you wanted in it? But you were looking for a house. And it's in a safe neighborhood. It's one of those types of houses that it may be small and it may be this, but as you grow, you will grow into a next house. But I don't need to give you the 6-bedroom house and there's only one of you. This isn't a season of expansion for you. You're just going to. Now, when God is blessing, he'll be like, okay, I know that you're going to expand at such a rapid pace. I need to give you the 4-bedroom house off the bat. Why do I need to do that? Well, you're getting married and you're going to have kids quickly. So you're going to need that extra space. So instead of having you move twice, how about I just put you in the space and then you grow from there? But at the rapid pace, I don't need you distracted during the season in which I'm trying to cultivate something out of you in the new place, having to move again. So I'm going to bless you this time that, yeah, it's going to have 4 bedrooms already. That way you can settle here for a minute. You understand what I'm saying? And then I'll give you another property over there. And another one over in that city. Expansion. Growth. And you're like, okay. God will bless you through entrances that don't quite look like there's a blessing in that. I was in New York for 4 years. Some people might have said in me explaining what I went through, that wasn't nowhere near a blessing. Yes, it was. Because it could have been way worse. There were blessings all over that. You just have to have the eyes to see them. Because some of us are just stuck in our heads. God's blessing should automatically look regal. Sometimes you're not in the regal season. You're in the season of this is the wilderness and I'm just trying to get you through. I'll give you the blessing once you learn how to cultivate the wilderness. As you learn each step through the wilderness, then I will give you the blessing. Doesn't mean that you're not going to see other people and in the midst of your wilderness and ask, well, God, why is it that I didn't get to go that route? I'm doing something different in them. Their calling is different. Your calling is this. I'm going to need you to operate in this manner. So this is the way I have to take you. If you knew what it was that they did to get to where they are so quickly, I didn't call you to be that, at least not in this season. I've been studying the people that I most like when I listen to words and stuff like that. And I look at the cultivation of their lives. And I think about if I had to go their route. Because a lot of people don't think about the route they had to take to get to where they are. God's blessed them because of the things they went through in the past. There are things that they went through I did not. God blessed me that I didn't have to go. That's a blessing in itself. The things you didn't have to go through to get where you are. Yeah, you had to go through that, but you didn't have to go through that. Oh, you had to go through homelessness, but you didn't get raped at 6 years old. Some of their trauma is worse than yours. He blessed them differently than he blessed you. Doesn't mean that you're not worthy of the blessing. It just means for the character building that I'm doing in you, it's going to be different. Because I know you didn't want that kind. of character building, right? Not to say that he had anything to do with it, but when it happened, he used the fact that it happened to make that person a blessing to the youth, to people that may have gone through other traumas. Maybe that's their calling. But for you, you went through a different kind of trauma. So your blessing's going to look a little bit different. Oh, she's making $300,000 a year. And you're like, but I'm not making no money over here. And it's like, would you like that person's warfare? That person's having to drive? That person's having to constantly be on the move type in their vagabondish spirit that they operate in? Do you want that? Is that the kind of cultivation that you wanted to get there? Because they needed to go through a certain level of whatever that thing was in order to get the result. But they also are getting what they need in that season. They have something you don't. So they need that type of, what's the word I'm looking for? They need that type of provision during that season. You didn't need that level of provision. Bless God, you didn't need to have that level of provision because God kept you in this way. But you did go through your level of warfare. You did go through a situation. But he's using that to cultivate you. But they going through this. Why? Well, I'm not making no money. And it's like, but are you being kept? You want to struggle like they had to struggle in order to get where you're going? Because I can make it an arrangement. You understand what I'm saying? Because where I'm sending you, I don't want your mindset to be thinking, I got to struggle like that to get that blessing. You prayed different prayers. So I'm getting you there a different route. And where I'm sending you next is different. And no, it may not be a 3-floor, 10-bedroom mansion at first. Maybe it's a ranch house with 4 bedrooms and it's nice. It has what you need. You'll get to the mansion for 10 bedrooms, but you ain't gonna need 10 bedrooms right away. God, I wanted a secure dwelling. It's gonna be a secure dwelling place. Right now, you're aware. I'm elevating you, but it may not be what you think right off the bat. Okay, God, we're going to do this in this next season. How are we going to do it? No, I'm not going to take you where you're going to have a gazillion dollars in the bank. But because you prayed for it, you're not going to have to struggle to get the financial blessings that I'm going to release unto you to build what it is that I've called you to do. Because of the way that you prayed, this is what and how I'm going to release it to you. Because you use my scriptures differently, you're going to get a different result. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought that the reason that certain people got prayers answered a specific way that seemed way easier than what the other person went through was because of the way that they prayed? Tiffany Montgomery mentioned this in a way in one of her broadcasts. Maybe the ease that they got was because of the way that they prayed into it in their submissiveness to God. their secret place to God. They're being submissive to surrender and stay under the covering of God instead of trying to be the Martha. You were the Mary at Jesus's feet. And this is why it's going to be easier for you to get the thing that they didn't, because they wanted to go be Martha. But in that cultivation, it's not going to look like immediately you got that thing. You're not going to start at the end. You saw the end from the beginning, but we got to graduate you there. A child doesn't go into kindergarten and graduate high school or college. I got to level you up age by age, grade by grade, gradient by gradient. You'll get there. You're not going nowhere. I know sometimes it feels like you're going to miss it and time is being lost. And you look back and 20 years have passed and you're like, I should have been way farther than this. I'm going to make up that time. But if you do it the way that I told you, you'll get there faster. Fight me on it, and it's going to take that much longer for you to get there. There are things that I've come to the realization of that I had sitting in my memory on my phone and devices that was sitting there for 3 years. Only now have I gotten the spiritual and mental maturity to step into it. Growth. You have to grow to be able to step into certain things. God can tell you he was going to give you a marriage promise 7 years ago, and you weren't mature enough to walk into that 7 years ago. You stood for it. Now's your season. You did the things, you did the steps, you prayed, you sowed, you did those things. Now, you've cultivated yourself to be able to withstand being in that place. Now you're ready. It may not look like what you wanted it to look like, but it's what you need right now. Go through the steps and you will step into it. Before you know it, you'll be fully in there. But God's going to gradually get you there. You don't want to just step into that thing and then God rips it off like a bandage and you're like, oh my God, the anxiety and the trauma. No, he's going to gradually take you in there, but you're going to be blessed in the process. Go through the process. Take each step. Take each graduation. It's going to be worth it. This is Taj McCameron for LFPB Ministries. Till next time.